If you're new to Fourth and 12 Fantasy, studs and duds, this is how it goes. Every week we give you a stud and a dud. Studs are people that we think are going to exceed their expectations as far as their fantasy football projection goes. People that we think, hey, these are guys you should have in your lineup. This is going to be a good week for them. We're really feeling strongly about that. And duds, the exact opposite here. People that we think, hey, these guys might be in your lineup, but you're going to want to temper your expectations here. It may not be as pretty as you hope it will be. That being said, I'm going to start out here with my Week 14 stud. And I'm excited about this one. This player's going to play in prime time. And I think they're going to shine under the lights. My Week 14 stud is Jalen Waddle, wide receiver for the Miami Dolphins, going up against the Tennessee Titans on Monday Night Football. I think Jalen Waddle is about to have a really, really good game. He has had 8 or more targets in 6 of his last 8 games, and the only 2 games he didn't have 8 targets in were the games where he was hurt and did not play the entire game, Philly and Kansas City. He has still been involved. He has been getting his looks from Tua. They just have not converted the same way they have in his first 2 seasons. 8 targets a game is a fantastic benchmark to be at. And I know people have been disappointed with Jalen Waddle. He's been a little hurt. He hasn't had the big, massive games yet. I'm feeling good about Jalen Waddle this week. And just to add a little bit more spice onto that, last week against the Indianapolis Colts, Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce combined for 22 targets, 14 catches, 205 yards, and 2 touchdowns between the 2 of those guys. Now, I know if you've been watching Hard Knocks, you've seen it. If you're watching the Dolphins this season, you've seen it. I know Tua loves himself some Tyreek, but I'm thinking Jalen Waddle gets himself involved here. I'm gonna make a call here. I'm gonna say we're looking at maybe a 6 for 90 and a touchdown week. Looking at like a 20-plus point week for Jalen Waddle here. I am excited about Jalen Waddle in this final week of the regular season. And, since it's the final week of the regular season, Wes, I'm breaking the rules. Breaking the rules. That's right. I've got a stud 2.0 for week 14. Whoa! I've got 2 studs this week. Whoa! You know why? Because it's the final week of the regular season. We need to know, and I got you. Here we go. Stud 2.0 for week 14, the final week of the regular season, the final week before fantasy football playoffs. You need to lock somebody in. You need somebody to carry you to a victory. Is James Cook, baby. James Cook, running back for the Buffalo Bills, going up against the Kansas City Chiefs this weekend. James Cook, since Ken Dorsey had gotten fired, has 44 opportunities over his last 2 games. To put that into context, the 4 games prior to Ken Dorsey being fired, including that primetime game against Denver, James Cook had 46 opportunities through those 4 games. And he has had 44 opportunities in his last 2 since Ken Dorsey's been fired, which is interesting because if you go and you look at it, he's played his lowest snap count that he has this whole season in these 2 games. But they are being very intentional with James Cook as they are using him. He has had a 14% target share over these last 2 weeks without Ken Dorsey. And like I said earlier, Kansas City is allowing the 3rd highest yards per carry over the last month. And if we know anything about James Cook, he is wildly efficient when he is on the ground. I know the Philadelphia game, he had a drop, and that could have been an even bigger day for you. But he has been wildly good over the last 2 games since Ken Dorsey had gotten fired. His fantasy output is 19.2 fantasy points and 16 fantasy points, tied for his 2 of his highest weekly finishes since he has been playing this season. Ken Dorsey's out and James Cook is in. He's locked into my lineup. I'm actually playing James Cook over Puka Nacua this week in a tough matchup against Baltimore. I feel better about James Cook against Kansas City. So I'm making those tough decisions. It's a tough one. You got to think about it. Definitely make sure you compare some stuff. But I'm feeling great about James Cook this week. He's being used well. He's being used efficiently, and they have a game plan for him. He's getting a lot of work, and it's going to be a good time for him this weekend against Kansas City. James Cook, stud 2.0 for week 14. Let's get
Wow.
some dubs here. Carry yourselves to the playoffs. Let's go, dude.
The courtesy of you to give 2 studs is amazing. That is thoughtful. That is dedication because, not a lot of people at this point are going to be paying attention to fantasy football podcasts and shows. So people are writing off their season like, well, it's a long shot to win. Yeah. Let's go, dude. You got 2 studs for us. Let me react real quickly, and then I will give mine as well.
Yeah, definitely.
For James Cook, at the very least, it's just a good reminder that you should still start him. I'm someone with you that has just believed in James Cook for a long time, felt frustrated with his lack of opportunities, felt frustrated for his lack of touchdowns as well. That's been a real issue in fantasy for us, for James Cook's owners. But this does feel right. And, personally, I don't think whatever way it happens, I think the Chiefs are still somehow going to find a way to beat the Bills just because that's just their nature. And, it feels like it could go either way, but I still feel good about them using James Cook, even if they're down, even if for whatever reason they're down by 2 scores at some point. James Cook seems to be important in that offense. Jalen Waddle. What did you say? That Colts wide receivers had 22 catches, 200-something yards?
22 targets for 14 catches, 205 yards, and 2 touchdowns between Michael Pittman Jr. and Alec Pierce on last Sunday.
14 catches, 205 yards, and 2 touchdowns. Okay, so that's Tyreek Hill's stat line.
Right, yeah.
And here's the only concern I have, because we've now seen this multiple weeks from the Dolphins. They'll be up so big that the starters get benched in the third quarter. I genuinely think that's the reason Jalen Waddle is not producing to the 3rd round talent we drafted him for, is the Dolphins score so quickly and they're up so big that they just give the guys a break.
Yeah.
And it's a hilarious frustration because at least the statistics you gave are helpful for Jalen Waddle owners to know, like, I know it's there. It's all there. They just end up getting 30 to 40 points by halftime. And then they just start showering by the 3rd quarter and just going to get ready for the press conference. Like, it's ridiculous. So I would love to see Jalen Waddle to put up some big numbers the last few weeks. That would be major for fantasy playoffs, but we'll see how that really pans out. But
I pull from something here from Hard Knocks. And it was a funny little moment there in this latest Hard Knocks episode in season with the Miami Dolphins. If you haven't watched on Max, not a sponsor, but if you want to be and you want to give us money, you're a sponsor. So there you go. On Max, HBO Hard Knocks in season with the Miami Dolphins. They're in practice, and Mike McDaniel leans over to the executive vice president of the Miami Dolphins and he goes. And this is before the Washington game, so this is not about the Tennessee game. But he leans over to the EVP and he goes, I just got a feeling Tua's going to go for 405 on Sunday. And Tua did not get there against the Commanders. Tua had a great day. He was like 18 for 24, 250 and 2 or something like that. He had a great day running the offense. But it seems like Mike McDaniel wants Tua to have that game. Wants Tua to have another Denver-like game. He wants Tua to have another Chargers-like game. And if we go back to, like I said, 8 targets and 6 of his last 8 for Waddle. The Commanders game, the play right before Raheem Mostert's touchdown, Jalen Waddle got himself in an incredible space in the middle of the field wide open. And he went down at like the 6-yard line. And it's like, dude, if he gets a little angle and he gets in the end zone there, he's having like an 18-point day versus that 10-point day. So I'm feeling good about Waddle, man. It's definitely, you got to put on an extra pair of tighty whities to be able to really feel okay rolling him out. But I believe under the lights, I think he's due for his game. So we're gonna see Tyreek have his go for 202, but I think Jalen Waddle can have a really solid game this final week of the fantasy playoffs. I think he's due. I think it's time. So that's it for my stud. 'S studs. Wes, give me your stud for week 14, and we'll jump into some duds after that.
Oh, I'm leaning in to someone we saw on the previous Thursday night, on the Week 13 Thursday night. We saw this rookie wide receiver come alive for his team, and he seems to be moving and grooving, and I think you can roll out Jackson Smith and Jigba, not just this week, but I think you might be able to put him into your flex option for the season. He is cooking. He is phenomenal. There is very, 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 very good reason that he was the first wide receiver taken in this NFL draft. There must be a reason that the Seahawks drafted a wide receiver, not just while DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett are on the team, but they were the first team to take a wide receiver.
Yeah.
I mean, they had the 5th pick overall, and they still got Jackson Smith and Jigba later on in the draft. Now, first 7 games of the season, JSN averaged 59% snap count. Last 5 games, that's been a nice increase to 71% snap count.
Yeah.
He is being part of this offense more and more. He's integrating into this scheme with Geno Smith. He's fresh off of an 11 target performance that equated to 62 yards and a touchdown that was overturned.
BS, dude.
BS. He's in the end zone often. He is going to be part of this offense for the rest of the season. They are in the playoff hunt as well. They are fighting for their spot in this NFC postseason. San Francisco is their next opponent. They are allowing the 7th most points to wide receivers. I know some of you may be scared of what they just did to the Philadelphia Eagles, but division games are wild, man. Division games are crazy. Let's not forget the Patriots have beat the Buffalo Bills. Let's not forget the Broncos have beat the Kansas City Chiefs. The Commanders give nail-biter games to the Eagles. Division games are wild, and I feel good about Jackson Smith and Jigba. And last point, all of their running backs are pretty banged up. Some of them may not even play. They're going to need to use the passing game no matter what happens. That's my stud for the week. Oh, and I've got a stud 2.0 that we didn't even plan.
Don't.
I'm not even kidding.
What's going on?
I'm not even kidding.
Here?
Now,
what's going on here right before the playoffs?
I wasn't going to say this person because I was like, wow, how many people are in this situation? But then you said I've got 2 studs. I was like, well, I do too, actually.
Let's go.
Roll out Justin Fields. Come on, man. Going against Detroit. Detroit's defense, where's the D? I can't see the defense. I mean, there's nobody in that backfield. Let me quote NFL Street to you. Justin Fields, bye week, first game. Where's the D? I can't see the defense. I think Justin Fields, I feel so good about rolling out Justin Fields. I think he's going to be QB1 on the week. I feel it. And for fun, in our family league, Noah, it's not going to mark my words, but it's going to be pretty close because here's the idea. I need to win. I need someone else to lose, okay? And I don't think that really have a shot. I'm going to start Justin Fields over Jalen Hurts.
Wow. Who did the Eagles play?
Cowboys.
Dang, dude. After Geno just torched him? I mean, oh, man. I mean,
it sounds crazy. It sounds insane.
It does, but if we're playing the ceiling, oh man, that's tough. There's 2 such similar players.
It's tough. They are similar.
That's crazy, man. That's dude.
Division game. I'm thinking about it. It's tough to say who. There's really only one quarterback you should start instead of Justin Fields. Instead of Jalen Hurts, and that's Josh Allen. But I might, just for fun, start Justin Fields. Either way, he's my stud 2.0 because the Lions defense has been horrible the last several weeks, and they're going to want to have a lot of fun. I can feel it. They're going to want to spoil the Lions.
Yeah, no, I love it. Let me talk about JSN real quick. We raved about this guy in pre-draft process. Didn't understand the landing spot. It's exposed itself over the last month and a half. He is definitely becoming more involved. Tyler Lockett maybe taking a back seat to him. It looks promising for JSN going forward. So I fully agree, and I'm with you on that, and I give my stamp of approval, not that you need it. With Justin Fields, Fields came back just 2 games before he got hurt. He was incredible. He was throwing for he threw 8 touchdowns in 2 games, right? If he had 2 4-touchdown games, something along those lines, it was
right.
He was playing incredible. He's come back. They had a weird win over the Vikings, but his game against the Lions 2 weeks ago, 2 or 3 weeks ago, I'm not sure. I don't remember exactly which one it was, but he lit it up. He was playing awesome. Him and DJ Moore had the connection. His last touchdown to DJ Moore was a frozen rope, that ball over the middle. Fields looks awesome. It's something we saw last year towards the second half of the season. Maybe they're hitting their stride here. Maybe this is going to be a positive thing going forward. Hopefully, he can hold on to the football. That's the plan and the hope and the dream. Hopefully, we get rid of those fumbles there. Yeah, I love Fields. Dude, Fields got dropped in the league that I'm in. And I was like,
wow.
Yeah, I already have. And it's awesome because I have Herbert. And I'm like when I saw the drop, I was like, I've got Herbert. And then it was like, oh, Herbert's playing kind of dog crap, dude. So I went and I put in a claim for Fields. It's going to clear in the morning. We'll see if it goes through. But dude, we'll see.
If you get Fields, do it.
Chargers get Denver.
Justin instead of Justin.
Yeah, Chargers get Denver. That's a tough defense. CJ Stroud just had not the best game against Denver. I don't know, dude. That's tough. Yeah, that's tough, man. I'd probably go Fields if I have Fields in the lineup there. So
last note, and then we'll do duds. 3 weeks ago, Justin Fields rushed for 104 yards against Detroit.
14
and Detroit's
carries,
defense
right?
is even worse. 18 carries. It's
18
even worse.
Carries. I knew it was way higher. Yeah.
Worse defense than it was even just 3 weeks ago. I'm really going to contemplate Fields over Jalen Hurts just for funsies.
Yeah,
but
Fields
either way,
be awesome this week.
Yeah,
Fields is going to be awesome. Dude. I'm 100% with you. Talk about duds here real quick before we close up the show. I'm not happy about this dud pick, but I unfortunately think it's going to happen, and I think CJ Stroud is going to be a dud this week. He's been incredible. He's the clear rookie of the year. In some spheres, he's still in the MVP conversation. But you don't pass against the Jets. I benched Tua 2 weeks ago because he's playing the Jets. One, because I thought, hey, we're probably going to go up. Dolphins are probably going to go up, and he's not going to have that good of a game. But even Tua, maybe a couple ill-advised throws, but Tua threw a pick 6, and then threw another pick a few plays later. Well, no matter the circumstance, it's not been great for quarterbacks against the Jets this season. In fact, only 3 quarterbacks have thrown for over 250 yards against the Jets this season. So that's already going against CJ Stroud there. Add on to it, he doesn't have Tank Dell. I know Nico Collins looked awesome. Nico Collins looked great last week. He seemed to fill in just fine. 191 yards. He was fantastic. Let's revisit that trade Jamar Chase for Nico Collins clip. Maybe a little later this season. We'll talk about it. But in games without Tank Dell this season, CJ Stroud is averaging just 14.8 fantasy points per game. It's not been great. And it's weird to think about, right? Because CJ Stroud's been so awesome. I said a couple episodes ago that I think CJ Stroud's going to be one of the best quarterbacks to play the game over the next 15 years. He's going to be a top 5 quarterback for the next 15 years, I think. He looks so good. His talent is incredible. He passes the eye test. He's such a good quarterback. But this just feels like a game with a whole lot of handoffs. And I'm just worried that in a historically tough matchup this season, I don't know if historically was the right word there, but a tough matchup for quarterbacks this season, and with a duo in the backfield, which Dameon Pierce hasn't been great, but he shined last week when he got some opportunities. He gets in the end zone. And against a defense that you can run the ball against in New York, I'm just not confident in rolling out CJ Stroud this week. I understand if you put all your chips in his basket, but I'm just tempering your expectations here. I think he could be a week 14 dud against this tough Jets pass defense.
That's fair. That is fair. And I understand people may not have a choice. They may have just been rolling out with CJ Stroud after several amazing weeks, and they're like, well, I don't need to use this other spot for quarterback. We're past the Texans bye week. He's been consistent. I'm not going to lose because of CJ Stroud. If you have another choice, consider that option. I won't say you should bench CJ Stroud if you have another quarterback. It does depend on who it is.
Sure.
But the point remains, the Jets defense has been really hard for fantasy quarterbacks, and it was the right call to bench Tua simply because they're playing the Jets. And Robert Saleh, it's come back to bite him because they don't really win a lot of games, but he made the point of like, yeah, we've humiliated great quarterbacks, and he backtracked it, which I don't think he should have. I think he should lean into it because, his head coach trying to get his team fired up. But the point was, not even the best quarterbacks in the NFL are succeeding.
Right.
CJ Stroud is still a rookie. Don't anyone forget that. Don't anyone forget he's still a rookie. So it's fair. It's a fair assumption to say CJ Stroud could be a dud this week because the Jets are still playing. The defense is still trying. I don't know why, but they are. They're trying their best.
Let's do it, Wes. Let's do it real quick, impromptu. Roll with me here for a second.
Okay.
I'm looking at some of these matchups this week, and I want to ask you: would you play C.J. Stroud or this quarterback?
Okay.
Would you play C.J. Stroud against the Jets or Josh Dobbs versus the Raiders?
I would say Dobbs. I like the rushing upside still.
I think that's a little piece of it. Yeah. Would you let's do this. Would you play CJ Stroud versus the Jets, or would you play Jared Goff versus the Bears?
I would play Jared Goff.
I think I would too. I think it's close, but I think I would. I think that's how much. And if this was a different matchup, I would probably pretty quickly say CJ Stroud. But first game without Tank Dell against a tough Jets defense, I think that's where I'm at here. Here's a fun one that I'll close it out with. Would you play CJ Stroud against the Jets or Jake Browning against the Indianapolis Colts?
I suck. I got CJ Stroud. I can't.
I think I would too.
After.
But dude, it's a 32 for 37. I'm like, hey, the Colts.
It was great.
You can kind of pass against. Like,
it was
I think
great.
I had the conversation there, but I think I would still go CJ Stroud there. So here's my week 14 dud. But I think there are like just still a really solid, probably 10 to 12 guys I would probably feel more comfortable starting him over, this week. Against the tough Jets defense. So, Wes, close us out with your Week 14 dud, and then we will hit the road.
I want to remind people about someone that many fantasy managers have been stashing for several weeks because we had a wonderful experience. And by many weeks, I mean he had an incredible one game, and we were waiting for an explosive return, and it's fresh off of a bye week. You and I refer to him as Devon Achane Light. But I think Keaton Mitchell will be a dud this week. He is an exciting player, but he's only scored more than 14 points once. And it was that game that we all saw and thought, who's this guy? That was the one time he got more than 14 points. We need to wait to see when he's going to be featured. We need to wait to see if he's truly part of the Ravens offense as a big playmaker, right? I mean, we know that Zay Flowers is going to step into that role without Mark Andrews. We saw it. He had a phenomenal game before their bye week. I know the stats and the targets didn't look amazing, but Zay Flowers is part of that offense. He is the rookie the Ravens are depending on. Gus Edwards has had a touchdown-heavy season, even though he hasn't a lot of carries and a lot of rushing yards. But that's the point, because even in spite of all of that, Keaton Mitchell has never seen more than a 46% snap count.
Yeah.
And he's never had more than 9 carries in a game. So he's exciting. He's got that league-winning upside. He's got a single-handed game-winning potential just because of his yards per carry, which is ridiculous. I think it's somewhere around 13 yards per carry still. It's stupid. But wait. Don't risk Don't risk your season with the season on the line. One game to go to make playoffs. You need to make playoffs. You got Keaton Mitchell, and you're wondering, this might be it. I might need to do it. Or you get 3 points, and he is not the boomer bust player that we can trust in that risk reward. He's not an established veteran that we do this for. So Keaton Mitchell is my dud, just for those that forgot about him, because I did. Don't start Keaton Mitchell.
No, and I'm with you. It's tough when you're part of a committee so clearly. It's tough when you know if we're inside the 5-yard line, I'm not getting the ball handed off to me. It's tough when you know that my touches are going to be limited to a certain chunk of plays that we have set out for me. We saw the potential, and we're just waiting on it. I think he's a great dud candidate this weekend. Even if he ends up having a good game, if he breaks off another one of those touchdowns or something like that, I'm still not rolling him out round 1 of my fantasy playoffs. I'm going to need at least 2 performances in a row before I feel confident to roll him out in the semifinals of the fantasy football playoffs. So I'm with you, Wes. I think it's going to be something that we got to monitor and take a look at here. I've got him in a league where I also have Gus Edwards, and I'm going Gus Edwards over Keaton Mitchell here because of just the touchdown upside. Hoping for 10 or 11 points out of one of those 2 guys, I feel more confident that I could get it out of Gus Edwards versus getting it out of Keaton Mitchell. So I agree. Keaton Mitchell, somebody, like you said at the very end of that, just wait on Keaton Mitchell. It's not worth it yet, but hold him, stash him, see if he's going to pay off, and if not, we move on. We may move on here after week 14.